Howdy, folks, and welcome to Moose Podcast number 419 Takeaways from the Week. Trust you guys are doing well. Saddened by some of you have really gotten the wind knocked out of your sails with those last two hurricanes. My heart goes out to you. It had a number of people, good friends with water in homes and damage. And boy, I tell you, it's my heart goes out to you. Is there anything we could do? I hope you reach out. Just know that you're in our thoughts and prayers. So, had a chance to talk with a number of you folks this past week. So got some great emails. Yes, you keep sending those questions. I know that some of those questions you sent me quite a while ago, and I just not got to answering them. So my apologies. So I did hear, and I got the message. I will do my best to keep getting that stuff out there as quickly and as current as I can. But the bottom line is, I love hearing from you folks. And remember, you can go over to Spotify and you can comment. We can have conversations over there, and it's a way of following up. Also, on the questions you email, just to make sure I got them and I know that they are important to you. So go over to Spotify, click on comments. Let's have a conversation. Still using Adobe Podcast Beta. They have upped the game, so they make the MP3 and the PDF right from the software now, which is really nice. I'm up to 1,600 minutes on the beta, so I still use it. People ask; it works really well. You can find the transcript, Spotify, Amazon, and of course on the blog post for the podcast. They're on the website. Hey, my good friends at Bedford's Camera, bedfords.com. If you didn't hear the exciting news, they opened up a whole new store at Overland Park, Kansas, basically Kansas City. They got some great new store deals, and they've got the inventory, the prices. That poor staff, boy, they are really cranking out the hours to get up to speed and helping you guys with all that new stuff they have there. So make sure you check out the new store. Also, check out PhotoCon is 2 weeks away. It's going to be a great multi-day event with classes and presentations and manufacturers and deals. And no matter if you go to PhotoCon or the new Overland Park store, one of the other of the 7 stores, all you can do is say that magic word moose, and you're going to see some serious change put back in your pocket when you're all done. So Bedfords.com, thank you for sponsoring the Moose Podcast and all they do for us photographers. Oh, before I forget, someday I'll learn how to read my own handwriting. They've got the Z9 trade up program going on at Bedford's right now. You might want to check that out on the website. It'd be a great time to step up into my favorite camera body, the old Z9er. Yes, sirree. So that's Bedford, bedfords.com. I am back from my annual week at just the most amazing, magical place that nobody really knows about except for a bunch of scouts. And that is Philmont Scout Ranch, just outside of Cimarron, New Mexico. It's literally on the Santa Fe Trail. And this place is unbelievably just spectacular. And the photographic opportunities are just, they seem almost endless. And every time we go, every year, we have a marvelous time. We come away just some great images, new friendships, and the participants come away with a whole lot of new learning and thinking about photography. So I wanted to give you some of the takeaways from the week, some kind of interesting things that perhaps might just help you move your photography forward. Had a couple of folks come with brand new camera bodies. and that can always be a challenge. We all have to deal with that when it's a new body, the newness, and where are buttons, where are things, where they do, what settings. It's a challenge. Well, this one very sweet person got a camera body for their birthday. It was a present, and I got to tell you, I admired them the entire time because it was new, and that wasn't going to stop them. Now, a couple of things that takeaways. One, they just kept shooting. They knew that some things weren't going to work because they didn't understand. For example, they started off and they were shooting JPEGs the very first morning, and they didn't even know what a JPEG versus a RAW, and they didn't know that yet. They've been taking pictures, but they just made the big leap. Didn't ruffle their feathers at all. It's oh okay, and they just kept on. I just loved their attitude because they just kept on going forward. What they decided to do was they were going to take on something kind of new each day, some new feature, and explore it, learn it while they were getting instruction from me and going to these different places. And man, they just knocked out of the park. They just kept shooting and shooting, and they had all these smiles. Whether it was trying to figure out, and they had, and that's kind of the nature of Philmont. They had these other folks who are, if they had the answer, they were more than happy to share it. And for example, when we went to go photograph the wranglers and the horses, they figured out how to on their camera get the autofocus they wanted. Another time they needed help and they were challenging themselves with white balance. Asked, where do I find that? Got the answer. I mean, that's just, they did it the whole time with a smile, and they got some great shots. And it's just like, wow. So that new body blues is not necessarily what, you don't have to have it. You might just take their lead and just try and master, or I should say master, just explore and learn one new facet of the camera body every time you go out shooting. I thought that was just brilliant. Another thing that came up, and you got to realize that with me there, that when I see things that sometimes I'm going to pick on them because it's just like this. It's like this big red thing being waved at a bull, and going for perfection, going for perfection, and looking at the smallest detail while missing some of the most important details in the process of chasing what they think is that perfection. First, you got to understand, at least from my point of view, that perfection is boring. It's just boring. Okay. The world's not perfect. And photographs, yeah, perfection. I just don't see how that ties in with memories, because photography is all about capturing memories. Did not it was more than one that was really, really focused in on, literally and figuratively, on perfection. And bless their souls, they stuck to the guns no matter what ribbing or challenges I might have thrown their way. And you can only imagine the sometimes the unkindness of my jabs to make them think. But at the end, and this was impressed me the most, is by at the end of those 5 days, they did start to by no means lower their standards, but they didn't seem to find perfection as worthy as they did the first day. They kind of, not that they ever used histograms or anything like that, but that's the only kind of parable I can kind of draw against. All of a sudden, they were kind of like, instead of using levels, they were using curves. Instead of using a jackhammer, they're using very soft brush strokes. And you could see the gears turning. You could see a little bit of difference behind the camera. And they had smiles the whole time, but at the end, they seemed to be a little more jocular. And I just thought that was really cool that, if you just take a step back a little bit, you might find that perfection, well, it's not what it's cracked up to be. Now, another thing that came from the week, and this is what always really, wow, I really sweat this out before I get there. And I little backstory here. So I kind of we get together on Sunday night, and I talk for about 90 minutes, and I kind of give some basic goals for us as a group for the week. So we kind of have a direction to head. And as I've been talking this year a lot about basics, that was kind of what I was going to go through and what we did go through for the week. And I like to just kind of start off a little bit simple and then kind of, you, for lack of better terms, pile on each day on what we tried to grab a handle of the day before. Well, by day 5, that's a lot of new stuff and techniques and software and a lot of thoughts. So the piling on of techniques, that can be a real daunting task. And as I reminded them multiple times, and I just want to make sure you understand this, there are times where you will hear something new, whether it's for myself or your reader, you go to class, and you're going to go, no way. I don't get it. I don't understand it. And you could feel confused or frustrated or sometimes anger, disappointment, all those things as you are with the very best intentions trying to learn something new, but it's just not clicking. Either you don't get it or you can't see how to apply it or those combined or other things. Here's the deal. And this is what I try to, encourage everybody to understand. When learning new techniques, you've got to take a deep breath. You've got to realize that today it might not click. Maybe not tomorrow, maybe not next week. But I know for a fact at some point you're going to be going down that road and all of a sudden the bell's going to go off and you're going to go, oh, that's it. It's important to give yourself that break and that time to understand that, when techniques get piled on, like if, let's say, for example, you just attended the Photoshop World a couple weeks ago, there's a lot there. There's a lot there, even with the knowledge. And I was talking to one person this past week that video is going to come out and you can replay it. You've got to remember which class had the technique that you wanted to go back and replay. So just give yourself the time and take the deep breath. It all will come when it's supposed to come. It really will. So just take that deep breath. The other takeaway from the week that, well, they might not have seen it or felt it, but they did describe it in words and definitely in their photographs. And that's the challenge of a new location. But here's the deal. All these guys have been to Philmont way more than I have. And they've been with it much more intimately as they all the different treks that they can go in the backcountry and hike. And these guys, they just hike, they hike. But the one thing that they've never done, and we go to this one location the first day, the first morning, it's just a spectacular place. And this year, it was over the top. I mean, it was just it literally and figuratively took your breath away because you are at just a tad over 10,000 feet when you step out of the Suburban. Yeah, we didn't have to walk up there. We drove up to Baldy Town, but God, it's gorgeous. And I like to get the folks up well, I got them up early every day. This is a 4:45 a.m. morning, this one, and get them up there when there is still not a single hint of the sun yet. There's just the heavens above you. And typically, all these adults are up there with scouts as they're doing their trek, and kids, as we all know, aren't exactly the most stealthy, quiet group. And these guys got out of the vehicle and they all instantly notice the quiet and they kind of start reveling in the quiet. They were just in love with the quiet. And even though they had all these past memories of these spots we went, and there's just so many gorgeous ones, it was the challenge of the new location, even though these guys have been there for years and years and years and years, because this was the first time that they'd been there on their own. They hadn't got a troop of Boy Scouts and other adults with them. It was just them and their cameras and the capturing of memories, both past and present. And it was I gotta tell you, I stood and watched these guys many, many times. I don't think they knew I was watching them as they were exploring things, kind of like kids in a candy store they'd never been to before, because what were they seeing? All these new aspects to someplace they had been to many times before, and then they saw that, and you could see it in their face. The face would light up, and then all of a sudden and then the camera would be busy, and they would be setting the tripod and trying to get this shot, or laying on the ground to get that shot, or bending over to get this shot, or oh my gosh, these adults turned into kids. They turned into just exactly what they were not missing, that loud, you know, youthful excitement, and they replaced it with their own. It was really cool. So the moral of the story is, even if you've been to some place 100 times before, you could go there again with new eyes and it's all brand new. Well, those are just some of the takeaways from 5 really great days with some great people there at Philmont Scout Ranch at the lower end of the Rockies. Wow, it's a gorgeous place, gorgeous place. We'll be back again next year. Maybe you can come join us and experience for yourself. In the meantime, get out there and shoot. Fall's on the way out. Colors kind of, a lot of it's on the ground, not on the trees anymore. But just remember to make every click your story.